celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.
Welcome back to the special edition of Young Turks, where we come to you from non-stop city Tel Aviv in Israel. On the show, we've been bringing you all the action from the DLD Startup Festival, but in this segment, as promised, we're going to travel outside the city, go into the farms outside Tel Aviv and find out what is the real innovation that's happening on ground in the Agri Tech space. Agri Tech, like we told you, is a large area of innovation here in Israel, but of course the market here in Israel is small. So a large market for Israeli agri-tech startups is actually in India. Here's the story. Israel has a long history of innovation in agriculture, from the kibbutz to drip irrigation that has literally made this desert nation bloom. Today, Israel has over 400 agri-tech startups that are once again transforming agriculture, either with high-tech or in some cases just going back to the roots.
Taking sensor technology, military sensor technology or military AI, data analytics, and putting into use, like finding where pests are going to grow, looking at the ground.
What's the most important piece of agricultural equipment?
I would say a mobile phone.
The mobile phone, the phone. Okay, and there everybody's equal. You don't have to have bought a big John Deere, tractor. You need a mobile phone. So we have companies like Taranis, who are giving you the power of satellites and drones and big data analysis to improve crop yields and to reduce disease through the phone. Israel gives affordable solutions that not Europe or nor US can provide to the Indian farmer.
It is exactly this pain point that innovator Nimrod Israeli is looking to solve with Biofeed, a simple device that prevents fruit fly infestation that destroys well above 70% of fresh produce in geographies like Israel, India, Southeast Asia and Africa. Only a couple of months ago, he had the ears of the prime ministers of both countries, and Israeli's story is one that is quintessential of innovation in this space in Israel.
I grew up on a kibbutz, and from childhood I was working in the fields, in the orchards of the kibbutz. Then I went to the army and we studied about chemical weapon. And when I finished the army and I went back to the farm, I found out that we actually use the same chemicals, the same group of chemicals that are used to kill people, also pesticides.
Thus began a 15-year journey of studying this space, a PhD in fruit flies and many experiments which involved creating a low-cost green solution to pesticides. Many of these experiments had no support but from one source.
The ones that actually put the money where the mouth is the Innovation Center of Israel, and they didn't ask much. They say, oh, well, it sounds good. We don't know if it's possible or not, but we put the money. And thanks to this money, I was able to start Biofeed.
Here is how Biofeed works. Simple lures like this one are hung on trees. A dispenser containing an organic mix of food and feeding stimulants as well as control agents is delivered slowly into the patch by a patented gravity-controlled fluid release platform. Attracted by the odor, the fruit fly takes a sip and soon dies, without any chemicals ever reaching the fruit, air or soil. In India, where Biofeed conducted large field pilots with mango farmers in Karnataka, the results were brilliant.
So what we found, at the end of June this year, 2017, infestation was, with doing nothing, 93%. 7% they had left with no infestation, 93% to the garbage, okay? With Biofeed they had 95% of the produce left, 5-10% gone. So the numbers are opposite. What the Indian farmers will do with it, what the government of India will do with it, is up to them. But we can open the door. And what we suggest now is not to do it on the farmer level, which is farmer by farmer, but what is more common in this case, it's called area-wide control, meaning you take the entire region, and this is again why it's so important that we use so few units per acre. So you take the entire region, and regardless who is there, You control the entire area all the time.
Israeli estimates that the annual market potential of just 2 of these pest segments is well over $1 billion. In a space similar but targeting another pest and with another patented technology is Jerusalem-based Yaniv Kitron's Eden Shield. Yaniv spent a large part of his professional life in Brazil and US working for a legendary Israeli drip irrigation company Netafim before returning to Jerusalem to work with his brother on herbs of Kedem.
8 years ago, there was a crisis in Israel of the export of fresh herbs. They were quarantined for export to the US, I believe also to Europe, because of 2 specific insects. One is the thrips insects and the other is the whitefly insect. And there was the Ministry of Agriculture of Israel requested ideas and solutions for this problem. These insects develop resistance very quickly to pesticides. And so they requested other solutions, and fortunately we found a desert plant, a medicinal plant that's widely used, that has a special effect on these insects, which is odor masking. What does that mean? Insects are attracted to plants first by smell. They detect the smell from very far away, and our product has a very dominant odor for these insects. That in the presence of our odor, they cannot detect the tomato smell or the bell pepper smell or the rose smell or whatever it is that we want to protect.
Having hit upon the right product, the next step was finding the right process for application. Even though the product is completely safe, the team wanted to stay away from direct sprays. The solution was spraying the nets of the greenhouse, and doing this brought down infestation by 90%.
The large portion of the market today is still chemical pesticides. The problem of this solution is that the main insects that we mentioned, thrips, whiteflies, and many others, develop resistance. If a product should have 80–90% efficiency, they might have that in the first application, but then after 2 or 3 applications, they can go down to 20% or even less efficiency. Our product avoids the infestation. We don't have repeated interaction with the insect. The insect goes somewhere else to feed. It doesn't feel our product again. And so we don't induce development of resistance. So this is one very, very important factor. Second factor, we don't apply the product on the plants. We allow for the natural equilibrium to exist on the field. And so natural enemies of the damaging insects can grow and becomes a clean environment, as we saw today in the filming.
Eden Shield has been granted patents in the US and Australia, but is already working on projects with food companies in Spain and farmers in South America. In Israel, the team is close to completing a successful pilot with one of Israel's largest seed companies, Hazera, and the move towards commercialization may come soon. Having raised $4 million in funding from our crowd, the next investment by Eden Shield will be in creating far more innovative distribution mechanisms for its products. Let's move on to precision farming with Ofir Shlam's Taranis, which has raised $10 million in funding.
Taranis is really a merge of 2 passions, because I come from a family of farmers in Israel. They've been farming in Israel in the last 4 generations. So I'm the 4th generation and I ruined the streak and I'm not a farmer.
After 10 years in the elite technological unit of the Prime Minister's office, Ofir wanted to explore the dynamism of the startup world, and in 2014 he founded Taranis, which is a predictive analytics solution primarily for crop diseases.
As I know farmers from my family and the background, we knew that they need really, really simple solutions, but the problems are really complex. The problem we chose to focus on is something that ruins about 22% of the annual crops every year. Mostly fungal diseases that can ruin more than $300 billion a year of crops. So we're looking at that problem, and we've decided to build predictive models that can tell the farmer, okay, in 3 days, you're going to have a risk for this pathogen in this farm, and you can do a preventive spray and protect your entire field. It will cost you only this, and the return on the investment would be 3x. or 4x. This is the solution we're giving. In order to create these insights about crop disease, we have to look at a lot of different parameters, starting with microclimate, understanding in each field. So we deploy sensors, and we look at the 2-week forecast that we generate for each field. We have our own forecast that is a 4x4 kilometer resolution, when the standard is 26 by 26 kilometers. So we're very, very granular. Then we understood that it's not enough to explain the pathogens. We actually need more visual data, and we started to license data from satellites. And afterwards we understood, okay, satellites have a lot of limitations. It's only quite a big pixel size from space, and we can do our own aerial imagery and take images at sub-millimeter resolution and actually see the first symptoms of a disease or the first insects that attack a crop, and then with our predictive models simulate how it's going to affect the field in a week and tell the farmer even more in advance.
For instance, here, Ophir is taking us through imagery from a large commercial farm in Iowa, USA, where imagery from the drones over hundreds of acres has been able to pinpoint 3 areas of likely pathogen infestation, down to views of the leaves that show signs of decay.
So the pricing in Taranis is really derived from the value we bring. The margin for farmers is quite small, and even 2% in the revenues, in the crops, in the yields, could mean even 20% in the profit. So if we can generate another $20 or $30 per hectare in value, then we'll charge the system around $5 or $7 per hectare.
Focusing presently on large commercial crops like wheat, soybean, corn and potato, the venture has raised $10 million from A-list Agri Tech VCs and even Mark Benioff's family office. The venture is looking at partnerships in Asia and even India, though it feels small farm holdings might pose an obstacle.
Over time, our clients collect data with our mobile app, with our satellite images, with our sensors, with the sub-millimeter aerial imagery. And over time, we have built a database even for smaller crops that we get less samples of. But once we get to a certain amount of samples, we can have predictive models for these too.
That's it on this very special episode of Young Turks that came to you from Israel. This was our 4th time here, and we hope to keep coming back here to bring you stories of ideas, innovation, and of course, awesome execution for global markets. Tell us what you thought of this program. You can write to us on Facebook or on Twitter. You can even email us at youngturks@nw18.com. Till next time, thank you very much for watching.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.